Archie Slaymaker, International Boxing News. And I'm joined once again by Jamie Conlan. Jamie, how are you today, mate?
All good, Arch. All good, mate.
I see you've been getting in a few rounds, a bit in the gym today. How is it down in London?
It's good, yeah. It's good. The atmosphere is very good over here, and everyone's ready to go for May 27th.
We'll briefly touch on it as well. Just how is the gym going and how is training going ahead for Michael's World Title Challenge on May 27th?
It's very very confident camp. Confidence in the preparation that's been put in, the performances that have been put in sparring, and everything is working towards the big night. I think this is the hardest I've seen Michael train, the most dedicated I've seen his whole career. I think we're going to get the best Michael Conlan on May 27th.
Perfect. And obviously, the negotiations were going on quite a long while. December 10th was the last of the wins for Bernardo and both Michael. Was there ever a time in negotiations where you thought, you know what, this might not actually get over the line?
No, there was one night, but no, I had full confidence in Top Rank, and you know Jeremy kind of, we kept in constant contact regarding everything, just making sure all the wants from all the teams were met, and there was different dates thrown around. May 17th, or sorry, March 17th was the first date, St. Paddy's Day. We looked at Madison Square Garden in New York. We looked at Belfast. We had booked both, and then Bernardo had got an injury, so that kind of was the first delay, and that was the first stall, and that was then the, well, we have a fight in between. How long is it going to be? And just that, yeah, it was long. It was a long drawn out process, but again, um, it's all part of the big fights, isn't it? These kind of fights usually don't happen pretty quickly. There usually are a process of dealing and managing egos of everyone involved, and just kind of getting it over the line in the end is the key. And but yeah, Top Rank were brilliant with everything, and working together on it was fantastic.
You don't usually see the champ usually going into the challenges backyard. What does that show you about Bernardo's mentality? And obviously a lot has come out over the past few days that he is really confident going onto it. Do you see that as a confidence booster going into the fight?
Confidence booster for Vernaro, or for us?
Both ways.
I think I don't think it plays too much of a part in one essence, and then I do in the other. The thing is, he's been doing this for a long, for a long part of his career. Is going back to like the Gabe Flores fight, maybe even the Andy Vences fight. He was the away fighter, and even going back further than that, Ruben Villa, he was coming into to the opponent's hometown, and he proved it coming over across the pond to fight Josh Warrington last time out against a really hostile environment that is Leeds, that he kind of relishes that, and wants that, likes to be the pantomime villain. Um, but yeah, we take a lot of confidence in it as well, because this crowd will spur Michael on, if needed, and then getting them over the line. Again, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of what we've always dreamed about, becoming world champion here at home in Belfast.
Perfect. And obviously, the negotiations side as well. There is rumours that there are a rematch clause on the fight night. If Fernando does lose, there is a rematch clause. Can you confirm that at all?
That would probably be up to his team to confirm or deny it. But yeah, there was a lot of different wants from their side. Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything to the rematch clause at all? I know you said there's one thing that it's for his team to confirm, but is there any clauses at all in the rematch, or is it just if he loses, there is definitely a rematch?
No, that'll be again something for them to speak about, and um, you know, things like that. It all comes down to uh what they're thinking, and it's nothing for me to really say. It's that would be, if you're speaking of a rematch clause, that would be regarding their side.
There's always a lot of talks of rematch clauses and how they're perceived. There was a lot of talking at Smith Eubank, like, why have you got no confidence? That's that's for your team to answer.
Mhm.
Do you believe that's been a part of it at all? That his team don't have confidence if there is a rematch clause?
Um, Not necessarily. Sometimes it's good business to have a rematch clause in there if they think it's going to be a close fight, or if the confidence issue on the fighter may be a small part of it, that they do think the fight is going to be tight and going to be close. But again, it's a good business move from their team. If it was Eubank Smith, or if this case or our case, they kind of try and get two fights out of one fight. Trying to double it up, and usually you don't really see them in fights like this. But if both fighters are things, so it has to be something to be requested. And if you want the answer to that, you need to speak to the other side's team.
That's perfect. And instead of negotiations, I'll jump straight into the fight as well. Obviously, Bernardo's quite an unorthodox character in the ring. How do you believe that Michael is victorious on the night?
I think it's not necessarily about what Bernardo is. It's about just Michael being the best Michael Conlan. I don't think Bernardo has met a style that is fundamentally adapt as Michael. Bernardo is unpredictable. What he does is he uses to his advantage. As you speak about fundamentals, he doesn't really have great fundamentals. He's unorthodox. He punches from different ranges. He doesn't really have that basic fundamental stance. But he uses it to his own advantage. He fights and he makes it hard for fighters to adjust to him. However, he does make a lot of mistakes within that. He can be exploited. But again, it's a real unique fight. It's a real intriguing fight because it is a real good clash of styles, and it could go various different ways. In terms of the fight, could be a very very boring fight. Both guys could stand on the outside, pot shot, and take their chances there, or they both could meet in the middle and can really have a good ding dong. I think both are adapted to do each style, and that's what makes this very very intriguing. And I think that's why it is the premier fight on May 27th, the fight to watch on the fight night to watch on the three nights, or the three shows that's happening on the one night. I think this is the main fight and the most intriguing fight of all three, because there is so many potential outcomes in this one. I think this is the kind of fight that if you're a casual or a real hardcore fan, it would be intriguing and enjoyable at the same time.
We'll touch on it as well. That there's good news as well that the ring walks are set not to clash with other events. You're set to go at 9 p.m. Can I just ask how that came about at all? Was that yourself talking to Matchroom and Boxer at all, or was that
No,
more George Warren's
it was
side?
George Warren. No, it was actually George had come up with the idea, and we discussed it, and they'd said he's going to go and pitch this to Eddie and to Ben Shalom, and it kind of made sense for all him. And we were looking to see what he was saying, like what was the best that we thought. How did we look at it on the ground? And kind of discussed it, and then he moved forward with I think he had a three-way call with the other two promoters, and yeah, I think it's great. It shows kind of again. I think could be like a real good figurehead going forward for Queensberry, and his forward thinking and progressive thinking for boxing was kind of above it there, and getting out in front and trying to make sure there is no clashes, and that everyone in terms of boxing audience gets to see all three fights potentially.
Would you be able to confirm the main card start time at all? Because obviously that would be forwarded as well.
I think we will go a bit earlier, but I think BT we're still close on the exact time.
Perfect. And just with regard to that, I'm going to touch on the undercard as well. I'm going to start with Pody McCrory. Obviously, there was a lot of talks for loads of other fights. Balanga was mentioned, Mark Heffron, Falcao at all. Can you just talk on the frustrations of not being able to secure maybe the opponent you did want for May 27th?
Very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. We spoke about Michael and Bernardo and how long that took. Pody kind of similar situation, if not longer, because we were in talks with 3 or 4 different fights, and initially we had everything done with Falcao, and then Falcao's team got a call to take the fight with Dave Morrell. They had accepted a contract with Dave Morrell, and then unbeknownst to them, it went a different route, and Morrell, I think, was fighting Uzkataki, and then at the last minute, we were then in renegotiations. We had another fight set aside, and at that meantime, we were speaking to Frank Smith and Tom Dallas about maybe doing Pody and Berlanga, and we were pretty deep in negotiations there. And then they went a different route, and at that stage, Morel had a or the fight Morel Nuzakataki fell through, and Morel called Falcao again when we were back negotiating with Falcao about doing it again, and in May 27th, and it was just like the old adage that when you're waiting on a bus to come, two came, and we missed both the buses, and it was just unfortunate that he wasn't able to secure. But again, it's what's not meant for you is not for you in terms of this situation for Pody. I think the big fights are still there. It's just about keeping them active, keeping them busy, trying to progress them up the rankings, keep them in high position in the rankings, and having meaningful fights just to keep him for them big fights. Is there. It just kind of brought his realization that Pody McCrory is thereabouts on these massive fights and in the super midweight division. And very exciting times are ahead. We've got Diego Ramirez at the minute, and we're just kind of securing one of these international belts. And it's just another step in the career of Pody McCrory. Once he comes through May 27th, we're looking at potential of August here in Belfast, and we're looking securing something big for there.
Perfect. You are known, I think, Conlan boxing are known for actually tough challenges for their prospects. I remember actually speaking to Kurt about this, and I've actually heard in other interviews. You find it obviously you're being quite unfair, quite harsh on Kurt Walker. It's Marcel Velacuzo who he's fighting, set to fight on May 27th. He's only been stopped, I believe, once, and he's a tough Colombian as well. Just can you
Mm-hmm.
talk about the toughness and the matching of Kurt Walker going into these fights?
Well, he's an Olympian. He's an elite level amateur coming through. He's got everything that's needed in terms of fundamentally to move very quickly. He can adapt his styles, and it's just about putting these styles in front of him where he's not blowing them over. He's not the biggest of punchers, so it's not like he's going to go and blow everyone over, but he's adapting and learning and progressing and understanding what it is the kind of he needs to work on in the gym and learn from these fights. And that's what we're here to do. We're not here to kind of mollycoddle Kurt per se. We're just here to progress him and make him a better fighter. These fights will make him a better fighter. Learning in these fights, like our last fight, his last fight in Galway was a real tough match, and it was a real. For me, I didn't. I was trying to say to him, this is the fight we would like to do for Belfast, not necessarily for Galway, and he was very happy to do it in Galway, and I was looking through my fingers because I knew that we'd already secured May 27th, and we were going to be moving in May 27th, and then again potentially late June. So it's just about moving him at a good pace. And that last fight, he would have learned over 8 rounds a lot more in that fight than having 3 or 4 knockover jobs and boosting his ego. That's the kind of fight where you're going to really learn. Okay, right, paces. I need to adjust with my pace. I need to figure out on the distance, not necessarily let people close distance, control the distance. Yeah, loads of different things there that he needed to learn over an 8 round period.
That's perfect. Obviously, a lot of some Olympians at the moment are obviously progressing, obviously quite slowly, not being matched as difficult as they should be. Obviously, another fighter I'm going to briefly touch on is Kiren Molloy, who did actually headline in Galway on a massive card, obviously live on Boxing Social. It was actually a great night. I did obviously catch glimpses of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it seemed a really good show. Obviously, his fight that he might be fighting on May 27th. I've done a bit. Is Lesper Espino? Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Has beat 2 or 3 of prospects in Britain as well. So you know, again, it's a good match. We were looking to do that match originally in Galway, and then Espino took a fight against Lima, who I rate very highly. Portuguese guy, very good. And we got beat there, so we kind of looked to do it on this one. It's a real good test. I've watched them a few times against good prospects coming through and beating them again. Sets a real high pace, real good standard, puts pressure on. It's exactly what's needed for Kiren at this stage in his career. In Galway, the opponent was a last minute change. Tough guy, Colombian, based in Italy. Hard to get out, hard to look good against. And I kept saying to Kiren that you won't understand the pressures of headlining your own show and what your kind of pressure you're putting on yourself, trying to load up and put him away, and that's exactly what he done. He made them mistakes that he's learned from now, and kind of next time we go back to Galway, he'll be able to kind of just focus on his own performance and not focus on all the crowd baying for blood and looking for the big stoppage and trying to get that one punch KO.
After May 27th, is it a fact of going back to Galway and headlining again there?
Yes, most definitely. Yes.
Perfect.
I think Curtin Care most likely will be out on in America in the summer, and then come back over home, and probably will look at Galway and Belfast for both of them to headline in each in the Ulster Hall, and in maybe we go bigger next time in Galway because the demand was so great. It's calling out and begging out for a bigger venue. So we're looking to go a bit bigger next time. Again, Kurt will have his own headline, and we were talking today about what kind of route to start moving forward with Kurt before the end of this year. Do we look at British title route? Do we look at any other route? Do we look at international titles? And that's kind of where we are with Curtis. So just trying to keep him. He's on 8 rounds now. Trying to build him into a 10 round fighter, and that's exactly what's going to be happening this year.
That's perfect as well. I'll move on to Lewis Crocker. It seems I'm just rolling through your stable. But Lewis Crocker teamed up with Billy Nelson. Can I just get
Yeah,
a quick comment on that team up? Obviously, he did win last time out. I'm pretty sure it was in Scotland, a bit of a last minute type
yeah.
of thing out there. But can you just touch on that team up with Billy Nelson
It's
and
it's it's a match made of heaven. Crocker doesn't talk much. Billy talks too much, and yeah, it is. It's a match made of heaven, and they're working brilliantly together. Like I've known Billy since I was fighting myself, and I've always had good respect for Billy, and I've kept in touch with him over the years, and just the opportunity came up to kind of Lewis put him up there, and we did a bit of a trial, and it seems to be going really well. Got him a fight up in are we out in Glasgow or up that way anyway, just outside Glasgow, I think it was, and it was really quick. But again, it was supposed to be a good test against Julio, who was like a very good fighter and a very good prospect at one stage, but now is kind of a seasoned journeyman type. And Crocker disposed of him fantastically and just showed the power that is still there. I think the people are sleeping on Lewis Crocker, and this is the year I think we're going to realize how good he is. We're going to keep him active. We're hoping to get out May 20th in Glasgow again on a Sam Kinnock show. We're just waiting to confirm that, and then maybe again July 1st, and then we'll look at something big after the summer. But it's just about getting them back, really bedding into each other, learning the style of each other in terms of Billy and Lewis, and adapting to each other, and just then big fight on the horizon after the summer. But 3 fights, 6 or 8 rounds, just kind of dust up the cobwebs, go through the motions, figure out the style that they're trying to implement, and then we're going to have a big fight before the end. But very, very excited. I can't say enough about Lewis Crocker. I think he's fantastic. I think he punches harder than anyone else I've ever seen. I think his boxing IQ is phenomenal. He was thrust into the spotlight very, very young over here, and has carried that tag of being one of the biggest punchers on the island. But he's been able to live up to it. A terrible year last year, and very unfortunate year last year in terms of injuries, fallouts, and on the day, people not turning up. Just everything that happened or could have happened. But he settled up in Glasgow now. He settled in with Billy, and they're working really well together. Yeah, he was actually down in Manchester the past few days sparring Brad Ray. So he's getting great work, and Billy's bringing him around, and they are working brilliantly together.
yeah, it's good to hear. Obviously, before the end of the out, like you said, a massive fight is on the horizon. The last fight I'm going to just talk about is Tyrone McKenna, probably one of the
Yeah.
most exciting fighters on your stable. What is next for Tyrone?
Well, we're looking for a big fight. The issue with Tyrone is if we give him an easy fight, he'll make it a hard fight, and that's kind of what we're kind of looking at. But keeping him active is what I got to do now, and just give him one to keep busy, and then we've been speaking to Christian Churchley. We were looking to do Sandon Martin. We were looking to do one or two others, and just hasn't been able to materialize. So we're looking at getting him out to SAP 6 or 8 rounds, and then a big fight is on the horizon. Like there is fights there. We're speaking to various different promotions about fights at light welter and welter, and Tyrone hasn't turned in a single fight yet. So we're just waiting to kind of secure one of these big fights and hopefully then bring him back into the spotlight.
Perfect. And then I'm just going to briefly move on. Obviously, massive night for Irish boxing as well. A week before Michael Conlan's charge is on May 20th. Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron. I'm just going to confirm, was there any talks to have any of your fighters on that show at all?
We were, right, but it just kind of with our own show the week after, we were able to get them out on our own show, and that's kind of if we didn't have a show, like it would have been a lot more pressing issue for ourselves. But no, definitely all getting out on May 27th was the key, especially being in Belfast.
Perfect. And I'm going to try and push you for a prediction. Obviously, it is probably one of Katie's hardest fights of her career on May 20th. Was you surprised they actually went ahead with that fight on May 20th after Serrano's pull out?
No, because Katie Taylor is that's why she is the best fighter, female or male, I believe, of all time in Ireland. And it just shows the determination, the drive, the hunger that she has to be regarded as the best ever. Um, she's picked the hardest fight I think imaginable for any woman around them weights. I think Chantel Cameron is bigger, stronger, and I always kind of said just like that's going to be a step too far in terms of size. But as the fight comes closer, I start to see her, and you see her hitting the pads in the gym. You can never go against Katie. There's a reason why she's done it. She believes in herself. She believes in what she's doing. She is phenomenal. Her speed is probably the one thing that sets her apart from every single fighter in any of the weight divisions. Is that her lightning hand speed, her fantastic foot speed, her ability to judge on the distance. She's able to adapt to any different style. This style is going to be a bit bigger, but I think the speed is what kind of will see her through here. And how could anybody go against Katie Taylor in Dublin?
That's perfect. That was my last question. So I really appreciate your time, Jamie, and I hope you have a nice time, nice rest of your time in London. Thank you for talking to International Boxing News.
Cheers, Josh. Thanks for having me on, mate.